Now, what if good skin wasn't just about skincare that you put on your face, but about what you put in your body? So today we're talking about ingestible skincare. And so today we're actually going to be talking to Daniel from Skinade. And Daniel is basically the business development manager, and he covers Europe, Ireland, and the southwest of the UK. So he's coming to talk to us today so that we can learn all about the science behind this amazing collagen skincare drink. My my thing wasn't recording. That's not very good, is it? Right.
Okay, all right. Well, good to notice now at the beginning.
Yes. Yeah, well, yeah, that's good. You haven't said everything. Right. Okay.
Yeah.
So welcome to Daniel from Skinade. I've already talked about where you're from. So you're from Skinade and you're covering, of course, Europe and the southwest of the UK. So you're a very busy man. Um, but the reason I've got you onto the podcast is because lots of my customers are taking collagen supplements or collagen powders. And having spoken to you at one of the meetings, I was really surprised at what you had to say, and it was very credible with regards to the scientific background. And like I said to you earlier, I was convinced that I wasn't going to leave the meeting, or when you came to the clinic, I thought, I'm actually probably not going to purchase these products because, you know,
Yeah.
that was just my misconception. However, you have convinced me, and we're now trialing them in clinic, which is amazing. So, would you explain to my clients why yours is different?
Absolutely, yeah. Well, Skinade is quite a different company from other companies out there that offer anything in this kind of category, in that we work exclusively with professionals. So we only work within skin clinics that have got good reputations, that do high-level skin treatments, and it all plays into the kind of ethos of the company, which is results first, it's science-backed, there's lots of clinical data. And the product itself has been around now for about 11 years. And in that whole time, I think it's yet to be matched by anything else out there. Now, I would say that, of course, but honestly, I've yet to come across something that I think poses a serious challenge to what Skinade does. And really, what makes Skinade different is that it's a highly absorbable formulation, which is very pleasant to take. We've got very good patient tolerance, and it's something that people notice the difference with very quickly. Within 1 month of drinking Skinade on a daily basis, people will start to see a difference. So it's one of those things that if it didn't work, if it was really just all smoke and mirrors, then we wouldn't be here now. It's been long enough that the game would be up. But quite conversely to that, we've won lots of awards. Every year there's new things that come out about Skinade, and people are very happy with it. So I'm very glad to be working with you now, and we hope to build on that and see where we can take Skinade and our other products to new heights. But so far, the momentum is all in our favour, so we're very happy about that.
Yes, because one of the things, like you said, about the taste, which
Mm.
it's funny actually, I was listening to a podcast the other day and she said she purchased something, it wasn't gifted to her, but she had one sip and she thought, right, I'm never going to drink that ever again. So I think the taste is really important. So how come yours is palatable? Because I've tried yours, I've actually made sure mine's cold or I put it over ice. It's actually very nice to drink.
Yeah, yeah. So taste is definitely a big part of what makes a product even viable, just from something that you can sell in the first place. And I think that the reason why we're able to achieve such a good flavor profile is that we only buy the highest quality ingredients. So these are things that are produced within either the UK or within Europe. And so we know that they're made to very high manufacturing standards. When we put that through testing and it's independently tested, we see that we get very good results in terms of biological markers. So, there's practically no bacterial activity, there's no mold, there's no heavy metals, there's no other sort of contaminants in there. So it's a very high quality product to begin with. And then we've got a sort of, I can't say too much about it, but we've got an intellectual property around just the manufacturing process itself, which is performed under the highest standards. So, we are inspected by the Food Standards Authority, even the FDA in America. When we used to produce product that was being sold in America here, we now produce American product in America. But they would inspect the plant, and it all gets checked to make sure that we're following protocols, that we've got procedures in place to make sure that the product quality is very high. And the factory clean rooms where the product is made are kept to such a standard that you could perform brain surgery in them. They really are very sanitized. And all of that makes sure that just the foundation of the product, what you're starting with, is in as good a place as you can get it. And then the rest of it really is just that we have some very clever people who were working on the flavor profile and who made sensible choices about the formulation, which meant that basically you can't taste what's in there. And that, believe it or not, matters almost as much as the results,
Yeah.
because if people don't like it, they won't drink it. So that's why you'll always see us. We're never afraid to hand out samples at events. That's what we recommend with our clinics that we work with. They hand out samples because trying it really is the first barrier. And once people see that, oh, this is actually fairly decent, then they become much more open to doing that on a daily basis, because you and I both know that people have tried lots of things and have
Yeah.
not been too impressed by what's out there. So if we can dispel that sort of concern at the beginning, then it becomes very easy from there.
Yeah, so that's something now that we've started to introduce in clinic, which is really great because flavour does matter.
Mm.
Sweetness matters, and I remember you saying something when I met you about the type of sweetener as well. Was it?
Yeah, yeah. So, this is a subject that can sometimes have some strong opinions, um, and we have to be very pragmatic about the choices we make. So, firstly, you just don't want to add more sugar to a product like this. Because obviously sugar isn't so good for you. It causes glycation and essentially would undermine what you're doing with Skinade.
Yeah.
So we can't put sugar in the product. So we have to go with essentially another means of sweetening it. And we've chosen the artificial sweetener sucralose for that job. And we use sucralose because it is 200 times sweeter than sugar. So you only need a tiny amount. So we have 0.02 grams worth of sucralose per bottle or per sachet. And that's actually half of a hundredth of the FDA's daily safe guideline for sucralose intake.
Great.
So it's minuscule. And sucralose also passes out of the body 85% chemically unchanged. It has a very stable flavor profile, so it tastes the same at the beginning of its shelf life through to the end. Doesn't have any kind of bitter aftertaste, which you can get with a lot of the other sweeteners out there. And it just generally has the longest safety profile of any sweetener on the market. So as far as we're concerned, it is the lesser of all evils. It's the kind of best option out there. And we do get asked occasionally, would you make something without any sweetener? But you just wouldn't make something that was
I was
good
going to
enough for
say,
people to
might
take,
not
I'm
sell it.
afraid. So it is what it is. But most people are fine with that.
Okay. So you were saying about high quality and no mold. So that's quite important, isn't it? Because
Yeah,
lots of my clients purchase on Amazon. Like I purchase lots of things for myself on Amazon. Um, but I guess it's what's really important. And I remember talking to another company is, where like what you said is where you source your products from is
yeah,
just as important.
yeah.
Um, and so the nice thing to know for our clients is that these are tested. So what was it you were saying about
Yeah, yeah.
was it
So,
mold?
I mean, firstly, I obviously can't speak about anyone else's product out
Yeah,
there, but I can only speak from our own experience. But in order to legally sell product in the UK, you obviously have to produce product to a certain standard, essentially. You have to prove that it's safe for human consumption. And as far as the sort of biological test profiles that we run on Skinade, and that's done independently, so it's not done by us. We're not marking our own homework. We can see that we are scoring as close to zero as we can reasonably achieve with these biological tests. So we know that the product is as clean as you can reasonably make it. And for the last 5 years now, we've been essentially scoring practically perfect product consistently over that time. And the only really general comment I can make about it is that this is something that we can do by virtue of the fact that we run our own factory. So we're not outsourcing this to anybody else. It's not made overseas. So we can see exactly what's happening. And
Yeah.
we've invested obviously in doing that. That's reflected in the cost of the product. But that's not necessarily something that every company can say. And obviously, when we're talking about margins and just the profitability of doing something, you're going to have to cut corners if you're making things at lower costs. And I mean that's about as much as I can really say on it. But you can rest assured that when you're buying a product from us, that you're getting something that is made essentially to the highest standard that it's possible to make it to.
Okay. So what would you say to clients? So I've had some clients come in saying, "Oh, well, I have 10,000 milligrams of
Yeah.
collagen."
Yeah, so that is a very common question. So people obviously are very aware now that collagen is a vital part of any good skincare routine. And there's a lot of sort of myth about it. People may not necessarily be aware of exactly what it is that they should be looking for. And to kind of give you a point about this, when we first launched Skinade, so this was in 2013, we offered 7,000 milligrams or 7 grams worth of hydrolyzed marine collagen peptides in every bottle or every sachet of the product. And since then, we have not changed that. That is still the amount that you find in Skinade. But what's happened, interestingly, over the years is that where initially you had, maybe 1,000, maybe at most 2,000 milligrams of collagen present per dose, let's say, over the years that's sort of steadily increased and gone up and up. And now you see companies offering 8,000, 10,000, 15,000 milligrams per dose. And there's a number of reasons for that, I think. So, firstly, obviously, a bigger number sounds better. So it's very easy to, increase that and make that the sort of unique selling point of the product. You've also, on the manufacturing and sort of supplier side, you've got the companies that are producing collagen obviously have an interest in making sure that the companies they sell to want to buy more collagen. So they're going to come out with lots of evidence to support that argument. And that there is some truth in it, but obviously there's an incentive to sell more collagen to whoever they're selling to. And then lastly, and this is obviously our opinion on this, but when it comes to actually absorption of what you're taking in, it doesn't matter if you're taking 2,000 or 20,000 milligrams if your absorption rate is only 10% or 20% or whatever it may be. And our view is that a liquid formulation, which is made in the manner that we do, so it's 100% in solution, is going to deliver essentially a 95% bioavailability of the product. So what that means is that you absorb pretty much everything that you drink. And our view is that that's just not achievable with powders, even if they're mixed with water or capsules or tablets. Those things inevitably, just on a mechanical basis, are going to take a lot longer for your body to process. And in the course of that time, it's going to be exposed to more digestive forces. And essentially, you're going to break down what makes these collagen peptides unique. And they
Okay.
will become less effective at triggering that collagen response in the body.
So it's funny because I some clients say, "No, I have the powdered solution, the powdered product," and then they mix it in their tea.
Yeah.
So they must be thinking, "Oh, but it has dissolved, and I do
Yeah,
have a
well,
liquid
it's
solution."
it's it's not as simple as that, I'm afraid, because to really put something into solution, you have to do a kind of analysis to kind of see that has really fully dissolved, and it also depends upon even the water that you're using, because we don't just use tap water, we use reverse osmosis produced water, so it's done under very controlled conditions, and we have a sort of high high powered factory setup that basically can put things into solution to a degree that is just not comparable to just a glass of water and a spoon.
Yeah.
We're at different orders of magnitude on that sense,
Yes,
and
because you were saying that the molecule size is much
yeah.
smaller with your solution than I guess.
Exactly.
Sometimes, you get
That
that
is the most
gritty.
crucial part. So you reminded me to say that that is the most important thing. So yeah, we kind of were starting off with this disproving or throwing some criticism on the idea that dose is everything, and
Yeah,
actually the most important number to be concerned with is what is the molecular weight of the collagen peptide that you're using, and in our case that's 2 kilodaltons in size, so it's a very small number. It's I can't really give you much context for that, but let's say a collagen molecule that's just found and extracted is about 300 kilodaltons. Ours is about 2, so it's much smaller. And what this means overall is that you absorb the peptides very rapidly, and crucially preserving the integrity of the amino profile of that collagen peptide. So if you think of these peptides as basically being a key or like a messenger signal that your body is picking up on, if that peptide goes through your digestive system and gets broken down, then you lose that signal, and it's not going to be anywhere near as effective at activating that collagen response. And we've kind of walked into this a little bit backwards, because what I should say firstly is that what we are doing with Skinade, with this product, is we are activating the wound healing mechanism in the body. And that wound healing mechanism is what creates collagen. So it's exactly the same as when you go in for a microneedling treatment, or you are going in for some other sort of treatment that's going to cause a bit of trauma or damage to you, because the idea there is that you are then repairing that damage, and in the process you're creating more collagen. And it's the same idea with Skinade, where we have a collagen peptide that is able to deliver this signal to the body to
yeah,
basically trick it that there is a wound, there's injury present, because these peptides look like your own fragments of collagen that would normally appear from a wound, and therefore you start to trigger this collagen response. So it's all about how closely can we mimic the body in doing this. And you can imagine that digestion is a huge barrier, because it's going to degrade the signal, if you like. It's going
yeah,
to break down these peptides further. Um, and it also matters a great deal what type of collagen you're getting, because not all collagen is created equally. We've already talked about molecular weight as being a big discriminator, but also where it comes from, because you can find there's at least 20 different types of collagen out there. There's different types of collagen
right.
throughout your body. And in our case, we're focusing on type 1 mostly, because that is the type that you find in your skin. So 80% of your skin is made of collagen, and of that 80%, 90% of it is type 1. So you need to make sure that if you want to affect your skin, that you are taking type 1 collagen. And in our case, that's sourced from freshwater fish, from European suppliers. So as we say, coming back to the beginning, we know that this is made to a high standard, that this is not going to be just some cheap collagen sourced from, chicken feet cartilage, stuff like that, is abundant on the market, and very, very cheap. But we choose to deliberately use what we know works, what has plenty of evidence behind it, and obviously just the reported testimony of all the people that have used Skinade for this amount of time. We've got absolutely no interest in changing that at this point. We've always used the best quality ingredients, and that's something that we'll continue to do.
Yeah. So what would you recommend for clients? Like, how long would you recommend that they take the supplement or the collagen skin aid drink in
Yeah.
order to see a result?
So usually people see a difference within the first month. And if that is something that you're very keen to see, then I recommend that you take before and after pictures, because you're not going to have a good idea otherwise of exactly what's happened. But within a month, you should see a difference, because that's one complete skin cycle. And we tend to see the best results appearing at the 90-day mark. So after 3 months
Yeah.
of continued use, that's about 3 complete skin cycles, and you will have much higher collagen density, much better elasticity in your skin, higher levels of hydration. And then there are other sort of continuing self-regulating factors, like the fact that it helps with oil production across the skin. So regardless of whether you're someone who's got very dry skin or very oily skin, it's going to help normalize that. People very often see improvements in their hair and their nails, where they're much stronger, much less brittle and prone to breaking down. I can't tell you the number of times that I've heard the story of, oh, I went to the hairdresser and the hairdresser said, well, what have you been doing? Your scalp is much thicker, or, they're cutting off much more hair this time than they were, for their last session when it's the same haircut and all the rest of it. So, people very often report stories like that. And we also have, over the years, we've gathered a lot of testimony of people with various skin conditions as well, such as eczema and psoriasis. And it's not that we're claiming to treat or cure these things. We're definitely not doing that. We're just pointing out that many people who take Skinade have noticed improvements in some of these symptoms around that. So with redness, with irritation, with some perhaps underlying autoimmune issues playing out there. And
Yeah.
Skinade is just really helping the body self-regulate, essentially.
I can see why now. Now you've said about the wound healing response
Mm.
systemically, it makes more sense. I
Yeah,
didn't know
yeah,
that
yeah.
before.
The peptide, not only does it trigger collagen production, it also activates your HAS2 receptors, which are then responsible for triggering hyaluronic acid production in the skin. So there's a much higher level of HA across your skin naturally through taking Skinade, and that's going to synergize very nicely with any other sort of HA-based treatments that you might be getting done. So that includes skin boosters, it includes dermal fillers and things like that, where basically, if you are in a position where you're getting an HA treatment, it turns out that whenever you cause a wound, i.e. just injecting somebody, you actually trigger a hyaluronidase response in the body. And hyaluronidase is the enzyme that is responsible for breaking down HA, hyaluronic acid.
Yeah, so for
So
our
if,
listeners, HA
yeah,
treatment is basically a dermal filler treatment
yeah,
with made
exactly.
from HA hyaluronic acid. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, so it basically the stuff that someone a professional might use to dissolve your filler, that is just an enzyme that your body would naturally produce under normal circumstances, i.e., when you've had a wound. So if you can obviously increase the HA level, hyaluronic acid level in the skin, you're going to be able to soak up more of that hyaluronidase that your body is producing naturally. So all I'm really saying here is that Skinade is going to synergize very well with any in-clinic treatments that you're going for as well.
Yes, which brings me on to the what is it called?
In support,
In support. Is
yes,
that the one that there's two, isn't there? There's one that's for surgery and one
yeah,
for cosmetic treatments.
that's right, yeah, yeah. So we've got an MD range, and that includes, as you say, a pre and post care program, which is a 45-day course that you use if you're going for surgery of some kind. And that's going to help with your recovery, with your healing, so you're back to normal much more quickly and with much less scarring as well. And then there's also the In Support, which we mentioned, which is a 10-day program. And that is like the in clinic version of the pre and post care program. So it's a condensed down 10-day course that people take, ideally starting 3 days prior to treatment, although you can get away with starting on the day of if that's how it works out. And basically, it's helping massively with the downtime aspects. So it's helping with bruising, with swelling, soreness, redness, inflammation, all that sort of thing. And it also will help with the actual aesthetic outcome that you're trying to promote. So just like Skinade, it's got the same collagen peptide in there that's going to trigger that collagen production and elastin, as well as hyaluronic acid. It also is just going to synergize very well, as we've discussed with the HA aspect of a lot of injectables. And particularly if you are going for collagen stimulating treatments,
Yeah.
i.e., things like polynucleotides, or if you're having some sort of laser treatment or microneedling, anything that is looking to stimulate collagen, that will get a massive uplift from using Skinade or In Support, because not only do Skinade and In Support both trigger your own collagen production, but they are providing the raw material to actually manufacture collagen within the body. So although we get great results with people who use Skinade and that's all they do, it's going to be even better when you combine it with in-clinic treatments.
That's amazing. Yeah, I'm looking forward to some of my customers who are just more prone to bruising, or those who want to, rush back to work maybe and don't want anybody to know with any redness and things like that. So I'm looking forward to them trialing it out and seeing what they think about it. So what
Yeah.
is in there that's helping with that? Because I saw there was like an arnica spray.
Yeah, yeah.
What else? What else?
Yeah, so within the in support kit, you get 10 sachets, you get 10 capsules, and the oral spray. And on a daily basis, you use one sachet per day diluted in water with one capsule, and then you apply the spray sublingually 3 times a day. And as you mentioned, the spray's got some arnica there. The capsules are very, very good for inflammation. They've got bromelain and quercetin, which are very powerful anti-inflammatories, and they help with both the sort of immune system inflammation response, as well as just general sort of recovery from trauma. So bromelain is often used by athletes, for instance, who have got injuries and they want to sort of relieve some of that soreness, and it sort of limits the amount of scar tissue that could form in the healing process. And then the main thing, obviously, is the sachet. That's where the bulk of the ingredients are. We've got our collagen peptides in there. We've got a fantastic ingredient, which is also in Skinade, called methyl sulfonyl methane, or MSM for
Hmm.
short. And that's great. That's great for stimulating elastin, for helping to maintain the integrity of your existing collagen. We've got a lot of vitamin C. We give you about 500 milligrams worth, and that's because it's a fantastic antioxidant, great for your immune system.
Yes.
And
So
yeah,
I was
go on.
going to say, because yours isn't just a collagen drink.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
remember you saying that there's the full solution, isn't there? So I was telling one of my clients that actually the type of vitamin C that you have in your solution actually creates a more alkaline environment so that it doesn't degrade when it's being
yeah. So
digested. Is that
it's
right?
a very interesting little synergy, which is that firstly, in order to make collagen in the body, you need vitamin C present. So that's an important part of any product that is trying to trigger collagen production. So we give you in Skinade about 450% of your recommended intake. And that's because there's no point just giving you, 10 or 20% of your intake, because your body could use that for anything. We've got no control over how that's used. So we have to oversupply you with vitamin C to ensure that all of our bases are covered. And then that means that obviously that's a high impact thing to do to the body. And typically, if you were doing this, let's just say from a margin point of view,
I'm
you'd be
so sorry,
using,
Darren. Can I
yeah,
just pause you for a moment? Someone is knocking my window.
okay,
I'm
yeah,
not
yeah, no
expecting
worries.
this. 2 seconds. I'm going to click this. To buy a car. Right. I'm so sorry. Where were we? We
Yeah,
were talking
vitamin
about,
C. So do you want to ask me
yes.
about vitamin C again?
Um, so what did I say? Oh, right. So the importance of vitamin C in the solution is so there's with regards to the skin, it's not just about a collagen
Yeah,
drink. There is more of a overall formulation that makes this really important, isn't it? Because I was telling one of my clients that um, it creates a more acid, no, an alkaline environment so that it doesn't get
yeah.
degraded. Is that right?
Yeah, so to kind of go from the beginning with this, in order to stimulate collagen production successfully, you need vitamin C present, because vitamin C is like the fuel that drives collagen production. So any product that is really serious about this needs vitamin C in the formulation. But there's no point just giving you a token amount of it, giving you 10 or 20% of your RDA, because we've got no control over how the body will decide to use this vitamin C. So we actually give you 450% of your recommended intake, obviously a large amount, so that we cover all of our bases. So we're not just covering collagen production, we're also covering antioxidant use, anti-inflammatory use, support for your immune system, all kinds of things. So because we're giving you such a high dose of vitamin C, we need to actually think carefully about what kind of vitamin C we're giving you. If we
Hmm.
were doing this, as I say, just from a cost basis, we would probably pick something like ascorbic acid, which is the most common, cheapest version of vitamin C available, and functions perfectly well as vitamin C. But interestingly, I was reading a study which looked at different types of vitamin C and their impact on the sort of gastrointestinal process of digestion. And what they found was that if you take a lot of ascorbic acid, you end up increasing the potency of your gastric output. So basically, you've got a stronger acidity coming out of the stomach, which in turn increases the length of activity of the enzyme pepsin. And pepsin is an enzyme that breaks down proteins. So you could see how actually that would potentially
Yeah.
break down your collagen. But what this actually does is it can irritate your gastrointestinal walls and cause acid reflux, heartburn. And so you'll find that there are people out there who actually cannot take that version of vitamin C at all. I know somebody who stocks Skinade who, before they even had the product, they thought, I'm not going to be able to take this because it's got vitamin C in it, but they found they didn't have any problem at all. And that's
Yeah, because
because
there's no point in causing new
no,
problems.
exactly, and that's because the ascorbic acid is actually swapped out for calcium ascorbate. So we use that version of vitamin C, which, although it doesn't interfere with your digestive process, so it's not changing your ability to digest things. Once your gastric output leaves the stomach, the pH does in fact raise and become a little more neutral, and that then cuts off the activity of this enzyme pepsin, so it's no longer active, and you're not going to cause any kind of irritation. So there's no heartburn to think of. And also, of course, then that helps preserve the integrity of the peptide itself for longer because you're no longer causing this enzyme that breaks down proteins to remain active for longer. So it all synergizes very cleverly.
So that's got me thinking, should we take the skinny drink before a meal or after, or just leave it like, should there be a certain
Yeah, so
time
because of
frame?
the way that it's formulated, the product is 100% in solution. So it's not going to take long to absorb it at all. In fact, the liquid in the bottle we refer to as being absorbed isotonically. So that just means that the concentration is already ideal for immediate absorption. So actually, it doesn't really matter an awful lot whether you have it with or without food, because it's kind of already just going to be absorbed naturally. Now, if you're someone who maybe is a little bit sensitive to taking, a lot of B vitamins, for example, or you're just worried that you might not tolerate Skinade initially, and that might happen in about maybe 3 or 4% of people. I would recommend you have it with food, maybe after breakfast. And the other thing is you just want to build a routine around it. So, get into the habit of using
Yeah.
it. Pick a time of the day that you're going to use as your Skinade time. And so you can just follow that process, have it with your meal, and you'll be fine. Now, from an efficacy point of view, it doesn't actually matter. It's going to work equally well whatever time of day you have it. But having said that, a lot of people actually notice they get a bit of an energy boost when they're drinking Skinade. And that's because there is a high level of B vitamin in there, and that causes your blood vessels to dilate, and you end up with more
Mm.
blood coming up to the surface of your skin, so you have more of a sort of radiance to your appearance, a more fresher, glowier look. But also, you'll physically feel that as an energy boost because your brain also experiences this increased rate of blood flow. So, therefore, obviously, you don't want to necessarily have it before bed if you're somebody who is sensitive to that,
Yeah,
because
that's
you
me.
might you might find you're a bit perked up. But on that note, one of the ways that you can maybe build Skinade into your routine as a healthier approach, if you're somebody who's very committed to coffee every day, maybe you want to consider investing that money instead into Skinade. And on a sort of daily cost basis, it really isn't all that different. It's about £4.30 something a day for your Skinade, and you could see that as still getting your energy boost, still getting the thing that's going to perk you up in the morning, but you'll be doing something very good for your skin. And it is generally a good idea to avoid caffeine with something like Skinade, if not just in general, because it does have a dehydrating effect. It's a diuretic, it causes you to pass out fluids. And if you were to take Skinade with coffee, you would end up with a less effective product because the caffeine would reduce your rate of absorption, and crucially, it would actually bind with the vitamin C in the product and essentially make it useless. It would destroy it.
Yes, which lots of people are told
Yeah,
to mix their powders with
yeah,
a coffee or a tea, aren't they?
yeah. And all I can
So,
say is that you don't want to do that with Skinade. It's not going to taste
no,
good.
there we are. No, oh no, 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 not the solution. Oh, and one thing. So, of course, they come as a Skinade bottle,
Yeah,
and you can have them either as a bottle or as a sachet. So, if you're
yeah.
traveling, then you can still take them with you, which is great.
Yeah, yeah. So we have two versions. The bottle is ready to drink immediately. It's very convenient. Most people actually prefer the bottle because it is just so easy. But if you are going away, as you say, we've got this travel sachet edition, which is a 15 ml sachet, so you can easily take that on board an aeroplane.
Yeah,
And you just dilute that with 150 mils of water, and you're good to go. And you can even dilute it with more if you like, but that's just the sort of minimum amount that we'd
yeah.
recommend.
All right, okay. So that's good. One of my clients actually asked about vitamin B, and she gets her acne becomes worse with vitamin B. Have you heard of that?
I have heard about that. It's a very sort of rare kind of occurrence, really, but it is something that I'm aware of. Uh, I'm afraid that there's not really anything that she could do about that other than just to not take products with B complexes in them. And we obviously offer things that meet that standard. So there's the product that we make called Derma Defense, which is 3,000 IU of vitamin A and vitamin D, and that is very good for dry skin, for flakiness, for if you're vulnerable to pigmentation. It's quite good at just helping to minimize the occurrence of that. And a lot of people build that into their sort of skin aid routine, so they'll have both products. We also have in support without any kind of B complex in there. So that could
All right,
be
okay.
something she could use. Or we could also consider using the cellulite product because it has, I think, just B1 and B5, I want to say. So usually I think it's the B12 that is responsible for that. But I'd have to double check to be absolutely sure. But it
Right.
is something that I've
Okay.
heard of a couple of times, yeah.
Yeah, well, that's good to know. 'Cause it's good to know that there's options
Yeah,
outside of that. So, of course, we're coming into summer now. Now you just mentioned the
yeah,
cellulite, and how does that work? Because there's a sachet solution
yeah.
for what would you call it? A cellulite
Yeah, so we call the products
supplement?
cellulite. You could think of it as a treatment if you like. I
Yeah.
mean, it's certainly a pretty unique product. I've never seen anything else that, most cellulite products that are on the market that are consumables are literally just diuretics. They just make you urinate more, because the idea with them
Right.
is that you're just trying to pass out water as much as possible. And it's not that that doesn't work, but it's going to have a relatively limited scope of influence. And with our product, we've come at it from pretty much every angle that you can think of. And the easiest way for me to describe it is really what are the things that we are targeting. So we're targeting swollen fat cells and just general packed on fat, because you've got all this fatty tissue that's causing all the bumpiness that you can see in cellulite.
Yeah. So I always think fat pockets and little walls on the side pulling
Exactly.
down these fat pockets so that you
Yeah.
get that's where you get the dimpling effect.
Exactly. Yeah, yeah. So it's a combination of the fat pockets and, as you say, the walls, these connective tissues that become very stiff and very brittle, and they start pulling down on the skin from below. So that's why you get this kind of webbing type effect, this orange peel appearance. And it's something that affects most women and, in fact, a lot of men as well. And the unfortunate thing about it is that it tends to self propagate and cause a kind of negative feedback loop. Because what happens is these swollen fat cells block off local circulation, and that leads to a buildup of toxins, of fluid, a lack of nutrients being delivered, and this creates the conditions for more cellulite to form. So it becomes a very
Oh,
difficult thing to sort of beat, because it's consistently growing back on you. Even people that lead very healthy, very fit lives still can have cellulite. It's a very
yeah.
difficult thing to do, to get rid of. So we've approached this from looking at all of these possible causes and trying to stop each of them. So when it comes to the fat cells, we have an ingredient in the product called superoxide dismutase, which is a very powerful antioxidant enzyme, which is clinically proven by itself already to reduce cellulite. So what it does is it helps to repair that stiff, brittle connective tissue. So it brings back some elasticity there, so it relieves that tension, so you're not going to get as much dimpling. It also will help to physically shrink the size of these enlarged fat cells. So we've seen in the clinicals something like, I believe it was about a 54% reduction in the volume of these fat cells, which is huge. We're talking about getting essentially what would be considered obese cells back towards a more normal, healthy baseline. And then we also have a collagen peptide in the cellulite product, which is a little bit different from Skinade. In this case, only it's a bovine source, but it is still 2 kilodaltons in molecular weight, which is the most important number. And it's also supported by a number of other ingredients that we don't include in Skinade. So the efficacy is still high. And what this will do is it will thicken up the skin. It will improve the elasticity of the dermis. So you end up again with less visible waviness and dimpling because the skin is thicker. You've got less contracting tissue underneath it. So you can disguise essentially what's happening there. And then we also focus a lot on your metabolism. So we're helping to burn fat, helping to break down toxins more quickly that could cause cellulite. There's also a very mild hormonal impact too. So it just sort of takes the edge off excess estrogen that can sometimes cause a buildup of fluid or weight gain. And then we also have just loads of antioxidants in the product, lots of anti-inflammatories, things to support liver function and detoxification. And when you put all of that together as a single product, it becomes highly effective. From the clinicals, people expect from that study, they were seeing about on average a 4 kilogram weight loss over, I think it was about an 8-week period. We had a lady who lost 6 kilos after 90 days of using just the cellulite product, not making any changes to her lifestyle. I think a lot of that weight is just trapped water weight, which is you're helping to remove essentially, because there's a lot to do with circulation that really helps.
Now you mentioned estrogen. What did you say about that? Sorry.
So it's not the strongest element within the product, but there's a few ingredients in there. I think it's called Agnus castus, which is quite good at just helping to normalize estrogen levels. There's also another ingredient in there which has got quite a funny name called holy basil, which has a mild effect on basically supporting your adrenal function, and it basically limits the impact of cortisol, which obviously you produce when you're stressed. And that obviously we've all seen pictures of prime ministers and presidents before and after they've gone into office, and they look like they've aged about 20 years in the space of about 4 or 5. And it is that stress, it's the effect of the stress, and cortisol is part of that. And it's not that we're stopping you producing hormones or anything like that. It's nothing like
I
that.
was going to say, so
No.
can ladies who are on HRT still continue to take
Yeah, with
this?
the cellulite product, there is nothing in there that would possibly cause any kind of negative interaction on a hormonal basis. We're
And then
talking
they
very
can
mild
take this with
effects.
Skinade?
Yes, you could actually do that. It would definitely be for someone with a bigger budget, but you could definitely take both if you wanted to. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, great. So where can our clients find you if they're wanting to purchase these products? Because
Yeah.
obviously we're selling them in clinic, but let's say somebody wants to
Yeah. Well,
is
we
listening from somewhere else.
our business model is always there to kind of support professional channel businesses, so like yourselves. And for anyone listening to this and who wants to try the product, I would totally encourage you to go to Chantel, go to the Sugar Box Clinic and order your Skinade there, and we can help facilitate your order. If you don't want to necessarily walk away carrying 90 bottles worth of product, which can be quite heavy, we can have that shipped to your door, and we can do that with no extra cost involved. So yeah, we do sell a limited amount of Skinade directly, but we are quite honestly deliberately the most unattractive place to buy the product. We don't do discounts, we don't do sales, we charge extra for shipping, precisely because we want to encourage people to go to their stockists to support local business and buy it from them directly, and you'll always
Yeah,
get a
so
better
that's
price
really
from
nice.
them.
I mean, if they want to buy from us, then they'll save on that by not paying
Exactly,
for
yeah, no.
shipping. But if, for example, somebody's different part of the world and they're listening and they
Yeah.
want to go to you, can they find stockists on your website as
Yes, so
well?
on skinade.com there is a stockist finder. So if you're looking for somebody near you that can supply you with Skinade, that's the place to look. We can generally ship to most places, so obviously anywhere in Europe is fine. and we've also got a warehouse set up within Ireland, so there's no customs for ordering from Europe. And we've also got obviously an American business that supplies that part of the world. We can supply you to Australia, to Japan. Um, I wouldn't order it if you're in the middle of China or something like that, because there are a few places that are a little bit harder to get into. Because we are a food product, it's a little more difficult to get around these
Yeah.
sorts of things. But yeah, generally anywhere in the West is fine.
Lovely. Right, great. Thank you so much for coming on my podcast. I really appreciate
Thank
it.
you. My pleasure, Chantel. Thanks for having me.
Right, so we shall leave it there. So if anyone wants to contact you, skinade.com, you said, or of
Yeah.
course they can come to our clinic and we can help them out.
Yeah, and absolutely. If I could give us a plug as well on Instagram, follow at Skinade, Skinade. And if you really want to follow me, you can also follow at Daniel Skinade and see what I get up to.
Great. Lovely. All right. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Chantel.
Have a nice day.
Bye
Right.
bye.
Bye for now. Bye.